This week, we're taking a trip down memory lane and talking about our favourite games from the 2000s. We're going year by year from the turn of millennia to 2009 and discussing the best games released throughout on this week's HGO podcast. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the HGO podcast. One of your hosts today, Ethan, and joining me as always is my good friend Hunter. Hey Hunter, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just swell.
Yeah, what are we doing, Hunter? What are we doing here? There's no video games. Where are the video games, Hunter? Where are the video games? I've been promised maybe an Embracer Guitar Hero in the year of our Lord 2029, but is that it? Is that all I've got? Is that all I got to live for?
Oh, is it Embracer that's publishing that? Oh,
yeah,
no.
Yeah. You didn't read the second half of the Vine print, did you, when you sent me that message?
No, I didn't.
A couple of days
I
ago?
just saw the thing and went, oh, you like those?
I do, and maybe I will, but I don't know. I feel like I was like, oh, Embracer? That's a 50-50 then. We'll see if that actually happens. But, dude, it's felt like a very weird week for video games. I don't know why. I just think it's been a lot of bubble shouting that I don't care about, you know? It's been like, you know, the Battlefield stuff and all of that jazz where I'm just a load of people yapping, and I'm just like, I don't care. Did anybody know there was a Drag X Drive beta happening this weekend? Did anyone know that? You're on it. That's what I want to know.
I did not.
No, neither did I until I saw it on the the news tab, and I was like, oh wow, bad weekend for Drag X Drive fans, am I right? That's crazy. But hey, we hope you're all doing well. This week, we are in the topic mine. Hunter has stuck his fist into the magic bag of endless ideas that he has, and he's pulled out a corker for you this week, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to be talking all about 2000s nostalgia. Why? Because we are in our 20s. We have to. It's our legal obligation. So yeah, if that sounds like it's up your alley, then hey, come join us. I'm sure we will have a wonderful time. If you're new here, though, this is the HGO podcast. We're here every Monday around 5 p.m. UK time, 12 p.m. Eastern on podcast services everywhere, and at youtube.com/Hot Gamers Only. Bit of housekeeping for you this week. Obviously, we've had the Death Stranding review and stuff go up recently, so if you've been liking that, thank you for the support. We appreciate it. That's up on the website or on YouTube. Kyle's got a new article up, as he always does, so if you want to go and check that out, go and check that out on the website as well. That'll be good to go. I think, is that coming out this week? I don't know. It's up when it's up. Go and check it out. It's already up, isn't it? He snuck it in under the radar.
Super Bosses.
Yeah. There you go. I thought it was out last week, but I was like, oh god, have I leaked that? Because I was like, is it this Wednesday or last Wednesday? It's up, though. You can go and check that out. And then we'll have some more reviews coming your way real soon. I don't know what it is with reviews this year, Hunter. I just keep getting absolutely, like, life just, like, you know, just absolutely just drop kicks me as soon as I actually need to write something. It's just like, no, I don't think you will, but I'm getting to it. I'm hoping Donkey Kong will be this week, but I've said that for the past 3 weeks, and I feel like a fake and a fraud.
It's that one meme of the guy, like, you know, the me about to go do something, and it's the guy and the thing right there, and then the next frame down, it's got the guy behind him about to, like, mess him up.
Yeah. I do apologize. I do want to finish these things. It's just life just keeps getting in the way, and I'm like, I just want to write about Monkey Game. Can I finish writing about Monkey Game? And then life's like, no, you can't do that, you silly boy.
No monkey for you.
So yeah, I'm hoping that it'll be done this week. Who knows? Who knows what other reviews will happen around the corner? Drag X Drive? I don't know. I might give it a bit of a go. I'm bored. I'm desperate, Hunter. I'm desperate for content, dude. I'm eager. I'm chomping at the bit for Drag X Drive. So,
oh my God.
Who knows? But you keep your eyes peeled on the website or on the YouTube channel. Anyway, let's just get straight into it. Hunter, what is topic of the show this week?
All right. So the topic this week is basically going through 2000 to 2009 and picking our favorite game for each year. I did a topic like this for a video one time for the 2010s before we did this podcast that I enjoyed. So I've always kind of toyed around with making another one that was this decade, but I never got to it, so we can use it here.
I mean, let's be real here. We're all for reusing ideas anyway, so you could probably do this as a video as well, and it would probably hit a completely different audience. because there's definitely people. Heck, I'm one of those people nowadays where I'm genuinely like, I don't have an hour and a half, and then I just stumble away. Whereas if it was condensed into a 10-minute, tightly written video, I might be more inclined. You never know. But
Yeah.
yeah. So the rule here was we are picking a game from every year that we think is either our favorite or the best or whatever, and then there will be a couple of years where we interject with more than one, and we've got spares in case we both have the same pick. I very much doubt we both have the same pick, if I'm honest with you, Hunter, especially in the
Yeah.
2000s. But
Spoiled for choice in the 2000s.
I also think we had very different tastes in the 2000s as well, so I feel like we
Yeah.
both kind of grew up on completely different games for the most part, so I think it'll be interesting. But then also, we do have a couple of years where we do have multiple, like, just to interject, because Cal's not here, so usually we were thinking, oh, there'll be 30 games here, but it'll just be 20, so I'm like, no. There's a couple of years where I'm like, oh, I assumed Cal would have this one, so I'm just going to mention that one anyway, and if he didn't, too bad, it's his now. I'm just going to chuck it on him. It's his now. If he wanted his own pick, should have been here. Sorry, guys. It turns out every annual Call of Duty is his favorite since 2003.
That's funny stuff. I also made it a point to try and not repeat series, so
Yeah, there's
if
no
I
repeats
pick
of
one, I
series
didn't
here.
pick it. I didn't pick another one later.
Well, there might be. I might actually have one, but I think it's one where there's a double. So I think I'm in the clear. But yeah, we'll see. Which of course starts us all the way back in the turn of the millennia. Which is crazy to think about. We were 2 years old.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is whack.
And judging by our analytics, most of the people were either similar or not born yet. So that's a fun one. So yeah. What was your pick for the 2000s, Hunter? So
I
many
had
games.
a couple of solid options here, but the one I settled on was The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask.
Of course it was. I knew as soon as I was looking at these Wikipedia articles going, what came out this year? I was like, it's probably going to be Zelda, isn't it? Little cheeky little bit of Zelda to kiss the Nintendo 64 goodbye. Mwah.
Yeah, what a good way to do it, too. I think that Majora's Mask, over time, I think slowly, it has become more, respected than perhaps it was. Maybe not necessarily at launch, but throughout, when I was in, middle school and stuff, it was easily the one that was like, oh, it's not quite as good as Ocarina of Time, whereas, throughout the years now, I feel like people like it more. I'd say
That's just the rule. It's the rule, isn't it? It's like they'll always be the fan favorite. Like, Ocarina will always be like greatest game of all time, mate. But it's like when the same people come around and play them all well after the time, and you can start to notice and go, oh, actually, I appreciate what Majora's Mask was doing more now that we're out of the bubble a little bit.
Yeah, and I'd say that Majora's Mask, I'd wager, has the best story across the series, even if that is mostly by accident. Because that's how Nintendo refuses to commit to a story with these games a lot of the time. So it being, a lot of the character being in the side contents and all of that with the 3-day cycle, I feel like really did click together in a way that works with their approach to these games that probably won't ever happen again, short of them choosing to fully commit to trying to tell a story in a way that they don't usually.
Could you imagine? Like, could you actually
Oh my
imagine?
god,
That'd be
it'd be
crazy.
good.
What a
I'd be
shame.
I'd be all for it, but
Wouldn't that be fun if that was the next iteration of Zelda where they have an actual narrative that's a bit more meat on the bone than just, hey, look, you Link, there's Zelda and there's Ganon, you know what to do. Put you in the right direction. Yeah, it's if you've listened to this podcast before, I'm not the biggest Zelda fan, okay? I adore Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They're two of my favorite games of all time. But older Zelda, I've dabbled with. I've never really finished any other Zelda. I've finished Wind Waker, and that was the only one. Once I played Wind Waker, which was my first Zelda game, every other time I tried to play, I'm like, I've done this, been there, done that. It's just like, I don't know what it is. I even tried Link's Awakening recently, and I played it for about 3 hours, and I was just like, I've played enough of this to know what it is. I feel pretty comfortable. It's good. Zelda doesn't get its teeth in me enough. I think that the muck about simulator that is Breath of the Wild, just blowing up a tree and seeing what happens. I think that's the part of those games that I love so much. So
Yeah, yeah.
Majora's Mask has always I've never tried it. I was like, I'm gonna play Ocarina, and then I played about 6 hours of Ocarina, and I was like, no. But Majora's Mask has always I've always kind of drifted towards Majora's Mask just because I like the tone and I like the idea of the loop. Like that's something that I'm
Yeah.
pretty interested in. But
Yeah, the tone and atmosphere is all off the charts. It's one of the most it's one of the most sensational instances of reusing assets and repurposing them for something else that has ever been in a game, I think. As
totally.
far as going from one to the other. There's a lot of there's just a lot of little extra tweaks they did for the gameplay, I think, that helps it age a little better than Ocarina in the long run.
Yeah.
And then just as far as Zelda in general back on the N64, both of those games have such weird little specific attention to the detail things that don't matter at all, but are stuff that because it happened to me, I'm
Yeah.
always gonna remember. Like, dropping a bomb on a Sheikah stone and then it'll take off like a rocket ship, or playing the Song of Healing on a sign that you broke so that it comes back to
Yeah.
so that it repairs itself. It's weird stuff like that we don't need graphics to be any more real than they already are, but I'd love little extra details like that to stick to people again.
Yeah. It's just I think that it's it's just part of the charm, isn't it? I think I don't know. To me, Majora's Mask, I think every Zelda game has an identity, but I feel like Majora's Mask to me is one of the more iconic identities that a Zelda game has had. I don't think there's any other Zelda game like Majora's Mask, and I think that that is a compliment that is very rare to give to a Zelda game because a lot of them do have very similar traits. It's very unique when you look out in retrospect, and I think that's really cool
Yeah.
because so many times they go to the drawing board and they just go, let's do a Zelda game. And it's just I like that. Let's do a Zelda game, but what if we evolve it around this 3-day loop? What if we make it a lot bleaker and a lot darker? What if, you know,
Yeah,
instead of
whereas a
having this
lot of the other ones are
this presence of Ganon, we have big ass moon.
yeah.
What do we do about this? I think that's really interesting. I wish Zelda did it more. Like that's one of my little complaints about Tears of the Kingdom. Really is okay. I love it, but I would have equally have loved you to go full Majora on that sequel and just do something absolutely weird with it. Like that would have been cool. But
I spent a
alas,
lot of the build up to Tears of the Kingdom thinking that they might go full weird with it.
full Majora, yeah,
I think even up to starting the game, I was believing that there was a chance, and then
with the cave
after
and everything going down into
yeah,
yeah.
after after playing it for a little while, I was like, oh, this clearly isn't where this is going.
Yeah,
But hey, Tears of the Kingdom was still great.
still fantastic.
Uh,
No
yeah.
qualms with me. But yeah, interesting. My pick for the 2000s is also a game that is a sequel, one of those short-term sequels. My pick for this one was Spyro 3 because I'll always have a
Oh yeah.
good excuse to talk about Spyro. But we're talking about 2000 was the end of the PS1, start of the PS2. So it's like
Yep.
I was like, okay, no offense to the PS2, one of the greatest consoles ever made. I also don't personally think it has a lineup, like a launch lineup that I particularly cared for. So there's nothing really on the PS2 in the year 2000 that I cared for. So I was like, let me look at the PS1 because I have tried to, if we were in the game here, Hunter, of picking games that are iconic or that people love, but you haven't played them, that's a bit of a fake and a fraud kind of motivation. I'm not going to sit here and
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you were expecting some of the GTA games to show up that were on the PS2. I've not played any of them, so I'm not going to put them on this list just because hey, everybody else loves them.
Yeah, like they exist. What do you want us to say about them?
They're fantastic. Maybe if I had played them, I would put them on the list, but I haven't, so I'm not going to do it just to get some brownie points, some random internet strangers I don't know. But when I think about the PS1, obviously you've got Crash and you've got Spyro, and year 2000 Crash Bash. You think I'm going to sit here and
Oh.
advocate for Crash Bash? You've got no chance, Mark Cerny. Get out of my house. Spyro 3, though, I I adore the Spyro games. They hold a very special place in my heart because, you know, I grew up with them, but they're one of my first kind of gaming memories of playing games with my parents. I think I brought it up on the podcast before that Spyro was a game that not only that my dad played with me, because I played a lot of games with my dad, but my mum absolutely loved these games. And so I've got vivid memories of just playing these games with my parents and just having a really good time. And Spyro 3 to me is it's just a fantastic video game that it's one of those rare instances that you will never see ever again of a development team having 10 months to make a sequel video game and cram it with so much content and just so much, new stuff that hasn't been seen before that you just go, how the hell did they do this in 10 months? How did they add like 4 playable characters, so plenty of extra mini games like the skateboarding stuff, and still have like a compelling story, some really great voice acting. The soundtrack, Stuart Copeland is still on an absolute belter with it, and it's just like, how did they do it? Like genuinely, how did people make these games in such? Rare's another great example. How did they make all these games in such short time spans and make them to the
Dude,
quality that they were at?
it is insane. Rare was on like a generational run for the N64 between GoldenEye, Banjo,
Mm-hmm.
Donkey Kong 64. Regardless of the quality of the game, that was still a lot of game to be making under such a time limit.
Totally.
And then Banjo Tooie.
And I mean, listen, I'll be honest with you. Spyro 3, not my favorite of the Spyro games. In fact, it might be my least favorite of the trilogy, but that is literally like Spyro 1 and 2 are 2 10s to me, and Spyro 3 is like a 9. This is not like, we're not talking about like a mediocre video game here. I'm like, it's still fantastic. And I think what I love about the Spyro games, and the reason that I wanted to put Spyro 3 on this list, is they're one of the very few instances, especially in platformers, and just where the kind of the industry was going, of actually having a cohesive narrative. Like I'm most of the time it's just Crash 2. I love Crash 2 to death, but it is just grab the crystals, go up the fucking elevator, kill Cortex, destroy the Cortex Vortex. But Spyro 3, even more so than its predecessors, had cutscenes in between all the levels, had different things happening. Hunter gets kidnapped at one point, and it's like, how do you get him?
Oh no.
How do you set him free? Freeing all the all of Spyro's new allies and all the new animals like Bentley and Sheila and Sergeant Bird, and having cutscenes integrated with them, going back into other levels and having more stuff. Just the amount of writing in this game, I'm just like, it's where you start moving away from just the Mario left to right mission structure to actually having story bits and moments. And I just kind of really like how the Spyro games just feel like a cohesive world. They feel like a world that is lived in. And it's like one of those rare instances of like PS1 era. There are plenty of games that were doing it. I'd like to think of the original Resi trilogy and, Metal Gear 1 and stuff like that, where narratives are starting, but it's like really starting to just focus on making things that aren't just arcade, put a quarter in, hope to God that you have enough fun to keep wanting to keep playing. And I just really love the game for it. I think it's fantastic. Love a bit of story. Have we gone a bit too far? Maybe. But I love a bit of story.
Yeah.
Especially in platformers, dude. I just love, like, I don't know. I just enjoy it. I find it quite endearing.
It's always more fun when you add just a little bit of context to make it worth it, Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's part of the reason I always preferred Donkey Kong to Mario in the first place.
100%.
Was bunch of crocs stole his bananas and he's angry about it is more compelling than oops, turtle guy kidnapped princess.
And I think that's why in reality, I genuinely, and I will stand by this, and I don't think it's a controversial opinion, but I'll stand by. I think Spyro is the strongest of the 3D platformers out of that generation, just because I think it manages to blend everything together that was learned from Crash, from Mario, from Banjo, where it's just like, it's a really great collectathon. The level design is excellent, but it also has the voice acting, the music, everything just forms together where it's like, there's something about those games that are really special. Where the fuck is Spyro 4? Toys for Bob? Where is it? Give it to me. Don't fuck it up.
Game Awards this year, surely.
I've got a good feeling, Hunter, this year. I've got a good feeling.
Coincidentally, there's going to be a new Game Awards category called the Fell For It Award.
Every year I'm a winner, dude. Every year I'm a winner. 2001. A Space Odyssey.
Right, this one.
was enacted. What have you got for this one?
So in a move that everyone sees coming, the first Devil May Cry is...
Oh, wow. I'm shocked, dude.
Yeah. Listen, if I said anything else, I would be a liar. But 2001 was just a generational year for the tastes of Hunter here.
Yeah.
Devil May Cry specifically, though, there are still things about this one that I think the series never surpasses, as far as I think it's still got the best level design.
Hell yeah.
And it's still got the best tone and atmosphere. They kind of start ignoring all the cool goth vibes in the first game to increasing extents the longer you get in the series, where it's kind of just gone now. But back in the first game, you were exploring this cool gothic castle with a relatively simple setup. Dante hunts demons, and the demon that killed his family is trying to come back, and he's gonna go slay them. And the combat at the time was revolutionary. It really kickstarted the whole subgenre of hack and slash stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As far as that's concerned, kind of rudimentary by today's standards, but I still really enjoy going back to it when I play it. There's maybe if I ever take an extended break from it, I'll be like, oh, I can't do this anymore, but that's yet to happen to me. So, I'm always going to be here for it.
Hell yeah. I think that, there's just certain franchises from the 2000s. I think as we go through this list, you'll notice that there was a lot of franchises that were born in the 2000s that still managed to kind of hold on to this day. There's so much powerful IP that stems from this era of video games, and it's just kind of crazy to me when I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, that started then, of course that did. And then it's like when you're looking at
there's a lot of things from the previous 2 decades in games that kind of, except for the really big ones, kind of died out.
Yeah. Whereas there's been so much staying power with the 2000s, where it's like, it's in that weird 2000s is in that, it's in that middle period of going from retro to what a lot of what modern video games are, if that makes sense, where it's like you're moving away, like I said with Spyro 3, from that kind of arcade kind of gameplay oriented structure over to what modern video games has become, the good and the bad. But yeah. I think, Devil May Cry, classic, it's I think, and I love, you gotta give Capcom props for this, and I think you've got to give a lot of companies props for this, is back in the era where games didn't need to be the biggest thing on the planet to then warrant getting a sequel and more stuff, and just keep working on it, because again, it's like, how many great IPs, necessarily the first one, it did all right, it did enough for us to do a sequel, then boom, Devil May Cry 2, maybe not Devil May Cry 2, but give it a third try. Oh, there you go. Peak. That's great.
Yeah.
Just keep trying. Just keep trying and just keep working on it. It's pretty fantastic. Yeah, I think Devil May Cry is a great one. I promise, not all of mine are platformers. However, unfortunately, childhood Ethan's favourite genre was 3D platformers, ladies and gentlemen. So you're going to have a lot of 3D platformers in this list. My 2001 pick might be a surprise to some people, ladies and gentlemen. Jak and Daxter, The Precursor Legacy. Why? It's the best game Naughty Dog made in the decade. controversial take. I know what some people are thinking. Guys, Uncharted 2 was made in 2009. And to that I say, I can think of at least 4 games better than Uncharted 2 that came out in 2009, buddy. Don't try me. We'll not mention that one.
In fact, when we get there, I have a list of them.
We will, because I've got 2 that aren't it, and I'm sure
Yeah.
you've got a couple as well. We can list them.
Yeah.
I love Uncharted 2. It's great, but Jak and Daxter, to me, I have a soft spot for Crash. I love Crash dearly. Crash 2, one of my favorite games of all time. I think Jak 1, like Jak and Daxter, might be the best platformer that Naughty Dog ever made. And what I mean by that is, in terms of quality, and again, I think what's really impressive about Jak 1 is it's a collectathon. It's, it's out of their wheelhouse because they were making very linear games with the Crash Bandicoot games. And what they managed to do was make a seamless world in Jak, which is still levels and still, extremely well designed in terms of levels, but you are just in one world. If you boot Jak up, once you've done the initial loading screen and you're watching that first cutscene, you can technically play the entirety of the video game and roll credits without another load screen. You can just play the whole video game. In 2001, that's sick. Like, that is really cool.
That is... Yeah, there's not many games that were doing that.
For a showpiece, for a brand new piece of hardware with the PS2, to go, oh, look, this is what Naughty Dog was making on PS1, and now look what they've done on PS2. They've just made the whole game one open world that you can basically beat in one sitting if you feel like it. Like, that's crazy. There's, Naughty Dog has always been known for their tech and for how impressive their games are from a technical standpoint. And, we can discuss whether that is true or not the later we get, or if it's more, But when Andy Gavin and Jason Rubin were both at Naughty Dog, Andy Gavin was cooking. Like, he just knew how to hack these systems, the amount of interviews where he's just like, yeah, we just take system resources away that we knew they weren't probably ever going to use and just shove them onto our game for shits and giggles. I think my favorite one is there's something about Jak 1 where they were using too much bandwidth, so they just nicked bandwidth from somewhere else so the audio could just be passed away from the main processing so that they could use that for something. Like, he just would take these machines apart and just go, don't need that, we'll ram that in there. And I'm just like,
let's put you over here.
Dude, I miss it, I miss the era of kind of scrappy development. Like, you don't get that anymore because obviously these consoles and these entities are too big to fail, where it's just like, PlayStation, like, you saw it hand in hand with the PS3 of how much of a disaster that was for devs, but it's like, they'd just be handed this piece of silicon and then they'd just be like, I don't know how this works, or, oh, that's shittily handled, like, let's fix that. And, people would just go all in on it, like guerrilla warfare on the console, fight against it to try and get your stuff to work. And the fact that you get, like, a game like Jak, which is a very good game, like, it's fantastic, and you just get it all to work within a year of the console coming out. It's really impressive. I love that game a lot. Shame I hate Jak 2 and 3, but can't all be winners. I've got to give Naughty Dog a tiny bit of praise, Hunter, so that when I shit on them for the rest of, like, the video,
for the rest of this podcast's existence, probably.
Dude, I can't wait for Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet, dude. It's gonna prove me wrong. I'm gonna really enjoy it this time, I promise.
Really?
Yeah, really. But no, I think it's fantastic. I just think what an era for platformers. Like, genuinely, like, the early 2000s, what a fucking era. Late, like, 1995 to 2005, fucking golden era of platform, like 3D like, that is platformers. That's the golden era, like, legitimately. I don't think you get better than from 1995 to 2005.
Yeah,
you just
that
don't.
is a solid decade of them, and then they kind of just disappear.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because they realized they made the best games ever made, Hunter. They're like, no more of that. It's time to go to third-person shooters, dude. Third-person
shooters forever until a hat in time.
Anyway, 2002.
Oh, 2002. Definitely not as substantial a year in the tastes.
Exactly how I felt about this one. I was like, this is not that great of a year.
There are a lot of good ones as far as things that I like. I just don't like them on like the same caliber of like Devil May Cry and Metal Gear Solid 2 and Silent Hill 2 and all of that. So I think I'm gonna go with Onimusha 2 for this one. I just kind of wrote down my options for this year and didn't
That is
actually like
crazy.
make a choice.
Before you start with that, I will mention, like I say, haven't played it, but I think that if you were going from a general audience perspective, the big one that they would have mentioned from this year, GTA 3, would have been the big thing of, oh, that redefined fucking video games, because it kind of did, but neither of us have really played it, so we can fuck that one off. Let's talk about Onimusha 2 for
Yeah.
fucking half now. But there you go. If you want your validation, GTA 3, it changed the industry, pretty damn great game, haven't played it, thank you. Go on, Hunter, talk about another game I haven't played and will never play. You got a high chance of
Yeah,
GTA
so
3.
this one. So yeah, this one is very fun because like Onimusha 1 and 2 were both developed like concurrently, like straight up they were just like, yo, two teams, here you go, make one each. And they were originally also developed for the PS1 is another funny thing. But so by the time 2002 came around, Onimusha 2 was a bit of an anomaly because it was still doing like the pre-rendered backgrounds moving around with tank controls. They
Ooh,
managed to do it,
lovely.
and it's not as bad as like it's not as clunky as games that came before it. And I think the remaster from earlier this year probably added in 3D movements altogether.
Probably.
I would hope so, since the first game's remaster did. But yeah, so it was just a really cool kind of set in historical Japan. A follow up in a way to the first one. You're playing as a new character this time, but uh, it's also fun to compare to Devil May Cry, as far as Onimusha's a bit more slower paced than the crazy old combos in Devil May Cry, but they're still very much, focused on sword fighting and playing around that way through a similar kind of Capcom designed or similar Capcom level design and all that. Not one central location this time around, but spread out through an adventure in a way that this is the one that I played the most from the first three games. I think I liked 3 a little bit more, but 2 is definitely the one I had my hands on the most. I played it like half a dozen times at least. It was a lot. But yeah, overall, really solid game. I'll like to get back to it with that remaster sometime this year, probably.
Hell yeah. My one. This is for Kyle. Bless up, Kyle. This is for you. Kingdom Hearts. And the reason I picked this one is it my favorite game that came out in the year of our Lord 2002? No, that's Sly Cooper, but we'll get to him a little bit later. I kind of said, we're picking favorites here, and I was like, hang on, we can't have Sly for 3 years in a row. I could if I wanted, but I'm not going to. We'll bring him up later. But I was like, looking at my list, and I'm like, Kingdom Hearts 1 is my favorite Kingdom Hearts game. As someone who didn't grow up with them, I think Kingdom Hearts 1 is the best, because even though the gameplay isn't 100% there, it's still very kind of tanky, and it's still not very well balanced. I think it did what it needed to do, I think for many people, especially in Europe, because obviously us folks here in Europe, we didn't get that much Final Fantasy before the PS1. We got 7, and then we got the things that happened afterwards. But we never really dabbled with Final Fantasy. And I think for a lot of kids, this was their gateway into Japanese role playing games. Was Kingdom Hearts, because
Yeah.
it's this weird game where there's these cool guys with key swords, and Mickey and Donald and Goofy are there, I guess. And I just sit there, and you hear the stories. I think everybody has heard the story of how Kingdom Hearts came to be, how it was this random elevator. Both Square and Disney both had their offices in the same building in Japan, in Tokyo, and they just so happened to be in the same lift, and they were just like, hey, do you want to work together? And it just that something stemmed off of that. I am obviously very much shortening that story for time, but you know, you can look it up. It's a pretty famous story, basically, of how Kingdom Hearts just happened because of an elevator ride and a pitch, and it just kind of took off from there. A game that shouldn't really exist. And it does, and it's fantastic. And I think for a lot of kids during that era, it turned a lot of them into JRPG fans. It turned a lot of them into Kingdom Hearts fans. It's one of those rare series, you know, like Sonic and Nintendo, like a few Nintendo series like Zelda and Mario, where the fan base is just feral. Like, you know, Kingdom Hearts fans are Kingdom Hearts fans. They have been since they first played the game, and they will be till the day they die. Like, they are just absolutely mad for these video games. And to be fair, in Kingdom Hearts 1's defense, rightfully so, it's a brilliant video game. It manages to mash, you know, these Disney worlds with, you know, fantastic kind of combat and just really charming like voice acting and narrative, and I just like it all just works. Is Kingdom Hearts 2 a better video game? Yes, from a gameplay perspective it is, but the story takes a nosedive after this point, and it's just like I think as an overall package, Kingdom Hearts 1 is fantastic. I just think it is such a wonderful game, and it's kind of like this time capsule of Squaresoft as Squaresoft before the Enix, before everything else that modern
Before
Square
the
became.
Enix.
Yeah. Before
It sounds like a calamitous event.
it kind of is, right? Because it's like, you know,
Yeah.
Square Enix has had a rocky road as we go along, but it's like it kind of just is this time capsule of a time. It's very 2000s. It is very 2000s. Simple and clean, one intro, you know, just for that reason alone, simple and clean as an intro alone. That's why that is the definitive game for 2002 for me. Brilliant.
Makes a lot of sense, yeah. Hard to argue with simple and clean.
Dude, what can I say? You have Waka and Tidus on a beach. What else do you need in the first hour of the video game? You know what I mean? Don't even have to play Final Fantasy X. You just ignore that one. Play Kingdom Hearts.
Also has Waka and Titus on a beach in the first hour of the video game.
Yeah. Also a very seminal RPG that if I had played, I'm sure would have been in 2001. But hey.
Yeah.
2003.
This is another one this one was more of a struggle even than 2002, because whereas 2002 there were good games that I was like, oh, I just don't like this quite as much as the previous year. 2003 is like, oof, there were only a couple of you I got to choose from here.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is, and I love this, because when you go back year by year, you know, we all have rose-tinted glasses for nostalgia for the past, right? When you think there, you're like, oh, when I was a kid, this, and this. But also, when you're a kid, you just get games when you get games, right? So it's like you could be playing...
Yeah, you don't have the time.
You could be playing Crash 3 for the first time in 2003, right? So it's like, to you, it's like you had games that you were playing. But when you look at it in retrospect, you're like, 2003... a little bit of an empty year, guys. Not gonna lie. Like, there was stuff there. There was some great stuff there. There was some great Pokemon stuff there. I didn't want to touch that Pokemon stuff, though, because, again, I think that there's better Pokemon later. So it was like, it was a whole interesting ballpark. What did you end up landing on for 2003?
I landed on, I think the most honest one here would be Tony Hawk's Underground.
Wow, that is a 2000s video game, ladies and gentlemen.
I think that Tony Hawk Underground probably embodies the 2000s the most, I would say.
I might have one that beats you later. For that title. I meant as far as
the other games around it.
Oh, I think it's quintessential. I think there's two options that are quintessential to the 2000s. I think one of them is Tony Hawk's Underground, and I think one of them came out in the year 2006 and will be there shortly. So don't you worry about it.
But no, I feel like you know, the move from Underground was the big thing. Was they expanded the levels beyond Pro Skater 4, which took away the 2-minute time limit, and now they were like more fully explorable things where you could, you know, just kind of naturally put your combos together and whatnot, while telling you this kind of, you know, rudimentary but still enough to get you into it kind of narrative from being local skate guy to, you know, his journey to pro while you do it. I also think that, this is one of the things about a lot of games and series where they're like, oh, we're gonna expand the levels. Like in a modern sense, that usually makes me go, oh no, I don't like that,
Yeah,
because you just
100%.
make them big and they're not good. Underground still got some of the best maps in the series, I would wager. I think that there are so many cool things you can do across a lot of the levels, like the two New Jersey's a good one where you got a whole bunch of stuff on the one side and then you could like combo onto the bridge over to the train station or airport or whatever it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
that was really good. Um I remember Hawaii being a really cool map as far as that's concerned. They got like the classic skate park kind of thing for you to just hit everything in the one kind of tournament
Hell yeah.
chapter there. There was just a lot of cool vibes there as far as the levels were concerned. The soundtrack was, I still listen to a lot of these, whether it be by way of remembering them from the game or just kind of getting into something like Rise Against later on in life. I think that overall Underground probably still stands as my favorite in the series.
It's just, there's something, as someone, I never played Tony Hawk, but I grew up with it around me. Everybody that I knew played it. Like my cousins had Tony Hawk. Um, Friends from school had Tony Hawk. I just never owned the games, but I played a lot of them just because I was dabbling with them at friends' houses. And it's just like, there's something quintessentially like 2000s about Underground specifically, just because it's in that era of the PS2 where it's like games really started to shine on the PS2, where it's like,
Yeah,
there was rare exceptions where there was still, essentially, a lot of people were still making PS1 games on PS2, just very shiny looking PS1 games. This was like where people started to actually take advantage of the hardware and actually start to evolve them. And I think Underground is just like this perfect kind of blend of taking what worked in the original Pro Skater games and just taking it to the next level, where it's like, it just gives you a reason, with the missions and stuff like that. It just gives you a reason to play it and just vibe with it. It's such a vibe. I love Underground, like just from a vibe
yeah,
perspective. Remake it, Iron Galaxy.
yeah. Remake it. I will. I will
That's
be
when I'll
here for
actually
those
buy
two.
one. That's when I'll actually
I,
buy
I
one. Yeah.
I will be here for those, and then you can stop because in my head that's where they stopped anyway.
I still think it'd be a really funny idea if they made a brand new game and called it Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 and they forget that they did that
That
originally. I think it'd be for the
would be
best.
funny.
Um,
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, winky face.
Winky face, yeah, cowboy hat. Um, this is my penultimate platformer, but the other platformer on my list, there's two. So this is the last one where I actually stand alone. And it's for a little bit of a different reason. My one for this is Ratchet and Clank 2. One, it's the best Ratchet and Clank game ever made, which is kind of incredible, pretty impressive because, there's been a lot of good Ratchet and Clank games. But the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I do not think, this is not hyperbole, I genuinely, one of the best third-person shooters on the PS2. Like, legitimately,
Mhm.
I don't know what it is about Ratchet and Clank, which is funny because Jak and Daxter, this is why I don't like Jak and Daxter, is I think its gunplay is absolutely horrendous. Whereas, like, I don't know what it is about Ratchet and Clank in the like, it's so fluid and the gunplay is so damn smooth that I'm like, you forget how archaic a lot of third and first person shooters were when they started. You know what I mean? Like, obviously with like the Resident Evil games and stuff like that, tank controls and all that jazz, where you're like, oh, God help us, thank goodness we got eventually away from that in a sense, right? But when you look at like the first Medal of Honors and Call of Duties and just everything that was trying to be a shooter, even GTA 3, again, very impressive video game, but in terms of shooting, it is just kind of, there's no fluidity to a lot of it. It just kind of, it's very clunky still. And I'm very impressed by how, we still sit here and we look at Ratchet Rift Apart and we go, wow, that's a really impressive game because, yeah, it's really pretty, but it still plays, it plays so damn well. And I'm like, spoiler alert, but ever since Ratchet 2, Ratchet has played that good. And we're still saying 20 years later, man, this plays so damn good. And I'm like, They nailed it on the second try. The first one, pretty rusty. Second try, absolutely fantastic. I think that it's like, I love Ratchet and Clank 2. It's my favorite. I love it. I think it's great. And the gunplay is so damn good. And just the weapon variety. Like, I just love how many damn weapons are in this video game and how stupid they are. And just, you know,
In
again,
the title.
yeah. They up your arsenal, dude. Exactly. I just think it's great. Ratchet and Clank 3 is also fantastic. Again, a very quintessentially 2000s video game, as there is a villain called Courtney Gears, and she has a pop song in the middle of it, and her boss battle is like on a giant disco ball, in like a massive disco room. Fantastic series. I think Going Commando, though, is just like, it just holds up. It's like, there is no nostalgia for it. It's just a damn good video game that's on a PS2. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to stick any nostalgia goggles on for that one. You could just literally, they could port it to the PS5 Classics Collection, and if you've only played Rift Apart, you can download it. You'd have no issues, and it'd be fantastic. And I'm like, I love that. It's great. What a game. Insomniac Games. Doesn't matter how old an Insomniac game is. Fantastic, all of them. Speaking of, where's Wolverine? Where's my next Ratchet and Clank? Thank you very much, Insomniac. I don't care for Wolverine that much, but you know what? I'll still play it because you guys are the goats. Fantastic. 2004. Hunter, are you back yet? I don't know if he's back yet. I don't know if he can hear me. He looks like he's staring off into the void, so maybe one day he will hear me once again. So I am going to say that 2004 is a pretty damn good year. I think that we went from a era of, like I say, 2003, 2002, not 100%. 2004, very good year for video games. Hunter, are you back yet? Hello?
I sure am.
My God, do you know how much like spaghetti talk I've just had to like regurgitate? I'm just like, he will hear me again one day. What was the last thing you heard?
You were starting to close out the Ratchet and Clank.
Cool. Right. All you need to know is I said I think 2004 pretty strong year compared to 2002 and 3. There are many games that I haven't technically played that I could have very easily have put on here, and you go icon status. What's your pick, Hunter?
Well, one of those being Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah.
Yep. The one in the series that I would wager probably, on its own, strongest front to back as far as, you could go into it pretty much cold and have a really good time without, it's not relying upon knowing what happened in the other two or anything like that. It tells its own story. It tells a really solid story that, is self-contained in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
As far as that's concerned. And if you have been following the series up to that point, it is a solid enough pivot to make it feel different, like rather than sneaking through all the indoor structures and all of that, you're sneaking through the jungle. There's a mild survival aspect to it. There's the, camouflage and uniforms and all of that you're changing up. But it's funny, like, if you're actually trying to play with the most optimal stealth all the time in that game, I can see how that would become tedious.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really care about doing that as often as I should have, so I just kind of picked the clothes I liked and ran through the game like that, and be like, oh, this one is affecting me especially negatively, so I'm gonna switch to something else real quick.
I mean, he still does that to this day, dude. He still does that to this day. Death Stranding 2.
Yeah.
This works better than the desert. That's nice. I'm staying with my clothes that I've already got on. Thank you, though. That was nice of you to suggest.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I don't think I switched from Death Stranding 2 until I switched to the Junji Ito one because I thought that was cool. But but yeah, once I get the skull face paint in Metal Gear Solid 3, that's it. Nothing else on his face until they take it from you.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, and overall, and just through all of that, replayable as far as just different ways to go about things. You'll discover something new, if you just explore a little bit, all that kind of thing. And
Hell yeah.
yeah.
What a game.
It is a classic.
I'll
What
get
can
to
I
it one
say?
day. I don't know much about it. I just know jungle and big ladder. That's all I know. That's all I know. And to be honest, I'm happy
That's
just
all you
knowing
need
that.
to know.
That's all I need to know. Perfect. Um, for me, this was really hard. So this was one of the years where I had to pick two because I'm a selfish person. The first one, Sly 2, best Sly game. Again, thing that I love about this game is, again, I promise you this is the end of the 3D platformer arc. We're over the hump. Nintendo fans, don't you worry. Praise will be coming your way shortly. But my God, this game, in terms of a story, is like, not only is Sly 2 an excellent 3D platformer, I think it's one of the best 3D platforms ever made. But also Sly 2 is like one of my favorite stories in video games, just from it's a comic book brought to life. It just is a comic book brought to life. And I just adore that. I think it's fantastic. It's episodic. There's like 7 whole episodes, and it's like each one is 3 to 4 hours, and it's got a closing arc. It's like a season of a TV show. And I'm just like, again, making this game in 2 years, I just sit there and I go, wow. Like, genuinely, I'd kill for people to make games like this now in 2025. Like, I genuinely would. Just, hey, here's a 3D platformer, but it's like there's this whole episodic story going through, and it's just the story is as important. The story and the characters is as important as the gameplay, and I'm just like, it's brilliant. I absolutely love it. I think it's just what a special game, and it's on PS4 and 5 on the back. You just play it. If you haven't played Sly 2, just play it. Play all of them, but Sly 2 is quite possibly, I think, like top 5 3D platformers of all time. I think it's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Other one, more interesting one, Rollercoaster Tycoon 3. Um, if you know the history of Rollercoaster Tycoon, you'll know that Rollercoaster Tycoon, pretty big in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's a PC game, essentially, where you build theme parks. And the first two were kind of 2D isometric, where you'd build them, on a grid system. And, they were very successful. And 3 was the first entry, and to be fair, the only entry in the series that went 3D and was actually good. I think a lot of, fans of the original 2 weren't as big on 3, but if you were a kid and you grew up on 3, especially with the expansions, the water parks and the zoo, what a video game, dude. Like, it's just like, I think we forget what the jump to 3D kind of did for video games a lot of the time, and it's just like the idea of just now being able to, oh yeah, you remember that little game where you made like little pixel isometric like theme parks? Yeah, now you can do that in full 3D, and you can just build water slides and
Yeah.
roller coasters, and you can ride those roller coasters in first person like you're actually on them, like at a theme park and
Oh,
stuff like
that's a cool
that.
feature.
Yeah, and you're just like, what a game, dude. Like, what a game. Like, I'm a big fan of these kind of sims. Another one that I was a huge fan of, didn't own it myself, but my friend had it, was Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, which is a very similar game where it's like 3D game where you build your own Jurassic Park and the dinosaurs could escape and eat everybody and all that jazz. And, there's a lot of fun things that could happen. And I just, again, when you think of games like The Sims is another iconic one that we could have mentioned about the 2000s. Very easily, again, another
Yeah.
huge tentpole franchise that you could just go, hey, it's pretty damn good. I just love these kind of simulation games. And it kind of, games like Rollercoaster Tycoon 3, like SimCity 4, kind of sparked the way for like the modern kind of simulation game. Like, talking about Planet Coaster or City Skylines and stuff like that, where it's just like, man, I love these games. I think they're fantastic. They're not for everybody, but there's just something charming about that. Oh yeah, now you can build roller coasters in 3D and ride them. Now you can do whatever you want. You can build water parks and stuff like that. I'm just like, what a game, dude. What a game. Soundtrack, incredible soundtrack. What a game. Fantastic. Still, in many ways, hasn't been beaten. I think Planet Coaster. I like Planet Coaster. Planet Coaster 2 was rough a bit, but I still sit there and I'm like, there's something about those games though that I'm like, I don't necessarily need better graphics sometimes. I think the PS2 kind of style still fits. It still works.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like, you don't ever need to look better than what you do because what's it really sometimes looking more realistic kind of loses some of your charm in a lot of ways or
Yeah,
graphically
yeah,
improved.
totally. But yeah, what a game. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I promise that I will not mention another single platformer in this entire video. You're welcome. Anyway, 2005. Some may say another great year for video games.
Oh yeah, this one 2005 popped off in a lot of ways here.
Yeah.
Like before I get to my own picks, like things that are disqualified by already using things from the series, Zelda and Devil May Cry both had Twilight Princess, which wasn't my favorite one, but still good in a lot of ways, and I think at the time was what a lot of people wanted it
Normie's
to be.
choice.
And then
Normie's choice.
yeah, Devil May Cry 3 is the crowd favorite.
Normie's choice.
Yeah.
Which is funny because what's your pick, Hunter? What's your pick?
My pick is Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I thought you were going to go for
another
Resident Evil 4.
Normie pick.
I knew I figured you might think that, but no, Shadow of the Colossus is one that I don't know. It's one of those things where Resident Evil 4 was really good, is really good. Shadow of the Colossus is such a unique game that really speaks to me on the way of like there's such a isolating feel to it that the only kind of vibe that from a game I've picked that's even felt kind of similar, I would say, is the first Death Stranding, as far as just
what a game.
Empty
what a
and
game.
exploring. Yeah. Just kind of empty and you're exploring from one space to the other, but then, you know, the level of bombast when you actually take down the Colossi and all that with, you know, the kind of, feels bad once you actually succeed kind of deal.
Yeah.
There at the end. I think that overall, it really spoke to me when I played it. And, you know, when I played it again, when they remade it a few years back, I still really enjoyed it then.
Few years back, and it's like 8 years ago. That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. Jeez. That one feels like it still just happened.
I know, right? It does, but it's been a long time.
But yeah, the clunky controls and all that aren't for everybody, but I think it helped to, like, you know... I played some of, what was it? Castlevania Lords of Shadow a few years back, where it did kind of just do, big monster that you climb up to destroy, except there was zero resistance when you're climbing the monsters. So now I'm sitting here like, well, this is just kind of lame. If I'm just holding up and there's nothing to it, then
if you're just gonna give it to me, what's the point? Yeah,
why can't I just jump to the top of it then?
Why not? Yeah, exactly.
So I think that, you know, the mechanics work for what they were doing, if nothing else.
I've only played the remake, so I know that's blasphemy for like half of the Shadow of the Colossus fan base. I'm sorry, but Hunter forced me to. It wasn't my fault. It's one of those games. Shadow of the Colossus is a very rare game for me, where it's one of the very rare games where I put the game down, like I finished the game, and the first thing that I did was boot the game back up again and start playing it again. And then I finished it a second time. And then I played it again. And I played it 4 times. Like, I went and got the platinum on the remake. Originally, I wasn't going to go for the platinum. Originally, I started it on my alt account, and then after defeating 2 Colossi, I'm like, nah, this game's pretty peak. I'm going to go back to my main account. I'm not ashamed of this one. I'm going back to I'm going back on main. And it's just, there's something about it where, like you say, it's just an atmosphere. And I'm not sitting there going, I wasn't sitting there going, I've just had the greatest time of my life, mate. Pretty depressing story and pretty, pretty melancholy video, pretty much a very melancholy video game. But there's just something about it where I was like, I kind of want to do it again. And I went through it all again. And I'm like, kind of want to do it again. And then, by the time I'd finished it the 4th time, then I got the platinum. I was like, good video game. I could do it again if I wanted to, but I'm going to stop playing it now. But there's something about it. It's one of those rare games where I did just go again. And I can see why it's such a cult classic. Because, if I grew up with that game, my God, I probably would have played it like every year, like legitimately. It's fantastic. There's
Yeah,
something
straight
about
up,
it.
it is really good. This was like everybody's favorite game when I started, like, in the middle school,
Mm,
watching people talk about video games on YouTube. You could not go 2 seconds without someone mentioning Shadow of the Colossus.
totally.
I'm glad that's kind of died down a little because I feel like talking about it so much sometimes does a disservice to it.
Yeah.
But
It's like I was talking to Kyle about this the other day. He does still exist. Similar to what's happening with Expedition 33 right now, where it's like, God, that game's fantastic, but God, the fan base to that video game makes me want to not love it at times because they are just so annoying and they just won't shut up and they're so kind of like on their own. And Shadow of the Colossus very much has that in a way where it's like, don't hang around Shadow of the Colossus fans too much, ladies and gentlemen, because they will put you off that video game because they are just like extremely passionate. And it's just like, yeah, sometimes you just kind of, it's hard because sometimes you play one of those games, you'll play a game where, everyone doesn't shut up about it and you're like, I just don't understand it. But there are games, I think Shadow of the Colossus for me was one of those where I'm just like, yeah, I get it. I get why you guys don't shut up about it. It is pretty damn good. I understand the hype. Fair enough. Fair play. For me, I've got this one is a normie pick, but he's got to do it, guys. He's got to do it. Pokemon Emerald. I've got to do it. This is, in my opinion, I think the 2000s is the golden era of Pokemon. I genuinely do. I mean, you go all the way from like what, Crystal to Black and White. Black and White is 2010, so to Platinum. Like, what a run of like Pokemon games! It is my favorite run of Pokemon games. I think Gen 3 and 4, I think, are brilliant, but Pokemon Emerald is probably the best game that they made in that period. I love Gen 3. I think it's fantastic. The Game Boy Advance was my first Nintendo console. I was a Nintendo handheld kid. Like I had I had the DS, the GBA, and the 3DS. I never owned a home console for Nintendo until I was 16 years old, and I bought a Wii U because that was a good idea. And Pokemon to me was a comfort game. I just adored Pokemon. I never cared about battling. I never cared about EVs, IVs, stats, shiny hunting. Never cared about that. But I still put hundreds of hours into all of them because I would just play them and raise these teams and try and collect as much of the Pokedex as I could and enter the contests like in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, like the fashion contests and stuff like that, and go to the Battle Coliseum and just do random bits and pieces. It's kind of like what I love about Pokemon, and I don't think Pokemon fans understand this really, is Pokemon is like the perfect casual game because you can just kind of do I'm going to go and, okay, I can't do that gym leader yet, so I'm going to go around and capture some Pokemon for a little bit, or do some contest work, or, work on these little bits and pieces. And I think Pokemon fans ruin Pokemon games because they're too busy trying to min-max and try and play the game like in a certain way where it's like, oh, it's a hasty nature, fuck you, reset. Like, I'm just like, if you just vibe and you call your Torchic Kevin and you just have a great time, like, just live a little, just live a little and you'll have like such a great time. And I
that's
didn't
why
call
kids like it so much.
because it's such a good kids game, and the games are fantastic. But I think a lot of Pokemon fans kind of miss the point with Pokemon, where I'm just like, just live a little, just spend some time in a Pokemon game, not min-maxing. Just, I feel like walking around. We bring these we've brought this topic up before, Hunter. In fact, I feel like we've done a mini topic about this at some point, but just like pissing about in video games, like making your own story. Ratchet and Clank 2 is a great one. Could have brought this up half an hour ago. Oops. Oh well. I'll bring it up here. But just booting up a game and not having a goal and just making up your own story in your head. The amount of times that I just walk around, like in my head, Castform, the little weather Pokemon that turns into like he's like a little grey gooey guy.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Changes with the weather.
In my head, I had no clue who he was. Why did I not see many of them anywhere? I was given one, but I never saw them anywhere. So in my head, I'm like, is he a legendary? He is in my game now. So I'm just like, all hail Castform, my little goat. Like, I love him to that. And I miss that. Because, you know, the internet was there. I don't care. I'm not going to look stuff up. I'll ask a friend, hey, do you know how to evolve X or Y? Like, what are we doing here? I just, like, it's such a golden era of Pokemon for me. Is Emerald my favorite? No, I think Heart Gold and Soul Silver are my favorite. But as a childhood game, I absolutely adored Pokemon Emerald, and I think it's brilliant. There was a time when Pokemon really was great, you know, and I think the GBA and the
That was
DS
a long
games,
while ago.
yeah, in the 2000s actually. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do. I adore Pokemon. I think we have a lot of conversations nowadays of, is Pokemon overrated? Modern Pokemon, hell yeah, it's overrated. But you know, back in the day, great little games. I really, please release them on NSO. I want to replay them really badly. And I know somebody's going to say, you know what to do. Here's 5 different websites where you can find it. And to me, I'm just like, I kind of just want to play it on my Switch and chill. Can we just do that? Can we just have nice things? Like, come on. You can do it. It's the big 30 next year. Give me
The
Pokemon
big
Emerald on
30.
GBA Online, dude. That's all I'm asking. Anyway, 2006. A big year. I'm just going to keep saying a big year, even when it's not a big year.
Yeah, I don't think 2006, you know, as a year in general, remains like the one that it always feels like it still is in my head. But
It's
as a
the one
game,
that's
as like,
it's the one that's quintessentially 2000s. Dude. Do you know why it's
yeah,
quintessentially 2000s, dude? I'll go first with this one. Do you know why it's
all right,
quintessentially 2000s? Guitar Hero, mate.
yeah, there we go.
There it is. There it is. You knew it was going
Uh,
to come up at some point. The main reason, right? I'm going with Guitar Hero 2 here just because Guitar Hero 3 is the best one, right? Or World Tour, depending on which one you grew up with. For me, it's World Tour, but we all agree that it's one of the two, right? Guitar
yeah.
Hero 2 was when it really like started to blow up though, I feel like. I feel like everyone and their nan had Guitar Hero when Guitar Hero 2 came out. Like it's just like you'd go everywhere, like every friend, like there'd always be someone that had it. In my primary school, my teacher brought in a CRT and Guitar Hero and a PS2 on like days where like near the end of the year when we were just pissing about. Like this is
Oh,
like
nice.
what a kind of like game. The reason I can say you can say Guitar Hero 2 or Guitar Hero 1 in the UK is because in Europe, both of them came out in 2006. One was like May
Really?
and the other one was November, because we got the first one later. But yeah, just again, something that's very 2000s. Fake guitars with whammy bars and, you know, the fact that the first, yeah,
Inescapable.
the fact the first two as well. I think one of the things that I've got to give them credit for is like the first couple of Guitar Hero games, all cover songs, not the actual songs.
Oh yeah,
But they
that's right.
sounded so damn good and so close to the song. No one gave a shit.
Yeah.
Some of them, controversially, sometimes when I like finally hear the original song, I'm like, I actually think the Guitar Hero version was better. But you know, it's like, that's a good cover. That's how good the covers were in some of these games. But yeah, Guitar Hero, it's fantastic. Rhythm games are fantastic. I love rhythm games, but you know, there's just something so 2000s about Guitar Hero, and you know, they
Feels
knew
like
what they were
so
doing,
of its time that every time they've tried to like recapture it, it hasn't worked.
and it never will. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
like
like
I
with
don't think this could ever be done again.
it's like with Fortnite
Sorry to say
Festival.
for the
Yeah,
future of your thing.
no, I think it's like I think here's the thing is I think you can do it, and I think you know if they're going in with the expectations of we have this. I think what they need to do is whatever this game is, you need to be able to make custom tracks and stuff like that, and you know do your own thing, like you know be able to share projects and stuff like that. I think that's what you're gonna have to
Yeah,
do for the future of it. But it's like the current musical landscape doesn't really fit Guitar Hero. It
that
just
too.
doesn't. Oh yeah, guys. Like I've tried playing Fortnite Festival at times before, just because I'm like I kind of feel like playing some Guitar Hero, and it's like, oh yeah, do you want to play guitar to Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso where there is no guitar? I'm like, wow, what a great idea. It's like there's not really jams in that way in modern music, you know. I still like. There's plenty of modern music that I like. You know, I'm not
Like,
going to sit here and go, I don't like Chappell Roan because that'd be a lie. But I'm not also sitting there going, that'd make a great Guitar Hero song, mate, because it wouldn't. Like they just
and then
wouldn't.
the other problem is it's like all or nothing there because if you want to go on the more niche side of like, you know, the crazy power metal songs that I would listen to, that'd be like You know, some of those would make Through the Fire and Flames blush if you put it in the
Yeah.
form of a Guitar Hero song.
Totally. So it's like it's very of its time. I think they're great. Again, if we were being honest, I think Guitar Hero 3 or World Tour for me would be the one that I'd put on the GOAT list. But also, they came out in years where there were better video games. So we're going with 2006
Yeah.
and Guitar Hero 2, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're going with that one. Anyway, over to you. What was your pick for
Oh,
2006?
yeah. 2006 was one where I was a bit strapped for choice here because it didn't have a lot. But what I did settle on was Tales of the Abyss, the Tales game I'm yearning for a remaster for because it's got an anniversary coming up. It was
Keep
my
dreaming.
introduction to this. Yeah, I know, right? It was my introduction to the series. I watched the anime first, well after it had come out. It's the goofiest little story about the way I got into this series. But once I did go back and play the game, I was still thoroughly enjoyed it. Tales' weird combat system was very unique for the time. They eventually pivoted away from it with the Rise, but I still think that what they were doing with it was pretty cool, all things considered.
Yeah, yeah.
Where there wasn't anything quite like it. It was very engaging as far as the battles went, and crucially to that kind of thing, still paced out in a way that besides the boss battles, you weren't really stuck in regular encounters for too long.
Mm-hmm.
Along with that, I think uh, the story very solid. I think that Luke Fabre is got one of the coolest journeys that a main character in any video game goes on as far as just his individual arc. And the supporting cast with people like Tyr and Jade. Jade is one of the most interesting non main characters in a JRPG that I've ever encountered. I think he's really cool, all things considered. So yeah, Tales of the Abyss. Really like it.
I can't believe you've done this. That's crazy. Yeah, it's like I say, it's a very weird year, but you know,
It was between that and like Dragon Fable. I was like, oh man, I feel like that would be a little picking the web browser game would really say that it was a rough year,
well, you see,
despite the fact that I think Dragon Fable is really good.
my other one was a slight cheat. Well, it wasn't a cheat, but it was also very 2000s. In fact, you know what? Fuck it, we ball. I'm gonna include this one in it because where you got to right, Wii Sports,
Oh yeah, yeah.
iconic, the video game of all time for a lot of people. Everyone owned fucking Wii Sports if they had a Wii. So it's like it's iconic. Again, very 2000s. Such a 2000s thing. Playing tennis in your living room with your aunt that's never played video games before. Like that's just kind of a thing that people did. But I didn't own a Wii, so I only played it around friends' houses. So yeah, it's a weird one, but hey, it's there.
As someone who did play video, even when I was a kid, as someone who did play video games at the time, it kind of baffles me that impressed people.
Mm-hmm. Same, but hey, I'm not gonna yuck someone's yum, dude. If they loved Wii Sports, then I'm happy for them. Godspeed.
Yeah,
Godspeed. 2007, Hunter. How are you feeling on 2007?
they pick it back up again. Like when a year is kind of slow, it does not take long for the next one to come back with
To grow,
the
yeah.
goods. Yeah. I think the pick for this one for me has got to be Portal.
Yeah.
Portal 2 came out in 2011, so I don't have to disqualify that one by including it here. But Portal is, both of them in general, one of my favorite puzzle games. It got excellent writing for all the longer they are, just a good time all the way through. As far as I'm glad I was harassing you the whole time,
Yeah.
all of that. The puzzles in general. Portals as a concept is just a lot of fun. I, to this day, still fantasize about like, oh man, being able to do that would be real cool. Or just, the first thing you do when you get the gun is drop something in the endless loop. that you make on the ceiling and floor.
Mm-hmm. It's a fantastic game. It was also my original pick. I'm gonna use my backup here because I also picked Portal because it's like, yeah, it's iconic. It's just absolutely. It is like the puzzle game of the 2000s.
Yeah.
Like it just is. The fact that this little 3-hour almost tech demo that was included in the orange box just became this kind of huge deal that, you know, took the internet by storm and then blew up even further when Portal 2 came out in 2011. It's just one of those kind of franchises. Again, if you had told me in 2012, 2013 that we would not get a Portal 3 in the next 13 years, I would actually call you a fucking idiot. Yeah, I would.
Oh
I
my
understand
god.
maybe not doing Half-Life, but another Portal? Like what?
Yeah, genuinely, what are you doing, Valve? Like,
Honestly.
I don't care if you never make another Half-Life.
Mm,
Portal is the good one.
it's true. I mean, Half-Life's also fantastic, but I think that Half-Life has so many expectations on it. Whereas if you were to just go, Portal 3's coming, everyone would just be like, yum, and get their knives and forks out and get ready. They'd be like, yes, it's coming back. But yeah, it's fantastic. My backup for this one, there are so many games, again, that I could have picked here, but I'm not going to pick because either I've already mentioned games in that franchise or I'm about to mention games in that franchise later on. So, you know, like Pokemon Gen 4 came out this year and stuff like that, so I'm not going to mention that. My pick, Mass Effect.
Oh, yeah.
What a game. What a franchise, eh? I played Mass Effect for the first time in the definitive edition, probably in like 2021, was it? Or 2022? It was one of them.
It would have been
It was a long time
21 or
ago.
22, yeah.
It was a long time ago, and I loved it. And I was like, can't wait to play the rest of these. And I never went and played the rest of them. So I'll get to that one day. But yeah, like Mass Effect is one of the first kind of, you know, we were starting to get to that point now where it was like, you know, choice-based kind of like RPGs where it's like the narrative is affected by the way that you're interacting with the world and like properly. Like obviously you had games like Morrowind, which were already like, oh yeah, if you kill that fucker off, those quest lines are done and you just kind of have to live with those consequences. You know, you definitely had those games. And trust me, if I had played Morrowind, I probably would be also talking about Morrowind because a lot of people are like, Morrowind? You mean the best game of all time? So I'm like, you know, people still absolutely adore Morrowind. Another game from 2002 that I'm sure people have already screamed at the comments 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, probably. They're probably yelling at us about not including Oblivion for last year either.
Dude, I still haven't played Oblivion or the remake, and I bought it, so, you know, give me a break. I'll get to it eventually. But yeah, Mass Effect was like one of the first kind of games that I felt like, you know, truly gave you those kind of choice-based, like a choice-based RPG that was like kind of mainstream. Like I love Oblivion, I love, you know, I love the idea of Oblivion, I love the idea of Morrowind, but also they're not really choice. I'd rather they go for, you know, you cause your own chaos in those games. Like you can do literally fucking everything. Where Mass Effect is very scripted with branching paths of X or Y. Whereas Morrowind and Oblivion are just Todd Howard going, I guess if you want to kill that guy, you can. You might not ever finish the video game if you do so, but, you know, Godspeed. Yeah, I just think it's such an engaging narrative. And, you know, Shepard and the team, the crew that you accumulate over the course of that game, it's so damn good. It's just such a strong story and just so much fun that I'm like, man, I understand why people are pissed off that they have done nothing but butcher this franchise for the past decade, where it's like, you know, Mass Effect Andromeda and then delay. It's just like, yeah, no wonder people are angry because, yeah, it's such an interesting universe to live in, and it's just like, yeah, I love it. I think it's great. I think a lot of what Mass Effect is what modern video games is in a lot of ways. Like I look at a lot of video games and I'm like, God, we're still doing these branching path of choices like we were in Mass Effect 1. That's kind of crazy that people are still using the same UI as well. Like we're still there a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Fair play
With
to
like the
BioWare.
dialogue wheels and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, they
Fair play
really
to
did just
BioWare,
kind
but
of
everyone just went, we like Mass Effect. Let's do it like Mass Effect. Now, is Mass
Yeah.
Effect 2 the best one? Probably, because that's what everyone says. But hey, I've only played the first one, so it's going here. Because Hunter took Portal away from me. Anyway, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I never played. I still need to play these just for the sake of liking BioWare in general.
I think you're one
I'm
of the
gonna
few
do it
people that's
eventually.
played every Dragon Age but hasn't played Mass Effect. I think that's a weird,
That is definitely not the
it's the more
common
normie, yeah.
occurrence.
Mass Effect is the more normie choice from the BioWare RPGs, so
Yeah.
more power to you though, Hunter. More power to you. Um, moving on. We're on our penultimate year on our little tour of the 2000s. 2008. More like 2000 and great. I don't know. I can't remember what I said for this
Yeah,
one.
there were a bunch of things that popped off in this year again.
Oh yeah,
Series that are disqualified by already appearing. Metal Gear Solid 4 and DMC 4 both made their both series making their next gen debuts
yeah, dude. This is
in
like
great ways.
this year was really hard. Where I literally have about 5 games that I could talk about here. I'll throw it to you first though. What game did you pick?
All right, my pick for this one was Dead Space
Oh, what a
because
pick!
yeah, it was the last big survival horror game before the last good big one before the pivot to Amnesia's style of doing things a couple years later, where you still had the exploring a central location with all of the trappings of kind of what Resident Evil 4 established beforehand with over the shoulder third person kind of
Mm-hmm.
deal. I think that Dead Space was a pretty natural evolution of that, allowing you to move being a good one. um, Still undefeated UI to this day, as far as I don't think there's ever been a better one,
Yeah,
because the UIs just keep getting worse as time goes on
hell yeah,
in
bro.
modern big budget video games, where everything you need to know is on the screen. Even if you don't use the little line thing to tell you where to go, that way you can just kind of look around and read if you were so inclined, as much as it might hurt you. um, to figure out where you need to go, because there's all sorts of signage to tell you how to get around. The Ishimura really, it was like a fully thought out location in that regard.
Yeah, totally.
It definitely avoids just, oh, it's here because it's a video game kind of deal. They really do set you up really nicely for that one. And like, yeah, necromorphs, iconic video game monsters, as far as probably still the most threatening of like the just enemies that you come across in these kind of games. Zombies in Resident Evil, I wouldn't really want to deal with them, but I feel like I could if I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
to. For a little while at least, I could defeat 0 necromorphs if put in an encounter with one.
Mm-hmm. Totally. It's again. It just set the tone in a way for a lot of modern horror games. It's one of those weird ones where it's like, oh, like so many games took inspiration from Dead Space. Like you just look at Dead Space and you're like, oh, yeah, a lot of people really like Dead Space, and you can tell by every horror game that came out after Dead Space where people are just like, yeah, learn the
It even
lessons.
kind of it even kind of breaks out of the genre in some ways, as far
Mm-hmm.
as like some people did try to rip the UI kind of thing later on. Like specific examples are escaping me, or just games that were less about being scary, but still pretty focused on violence. Really liked the focus on the dismembering
Yeah, yeah,
tech and all that. Like you even still see some of that showing up in different ways to you know this day, as far as like Dead Island, I think from a couple of years ago, was one where it's like, oh, look at all the bits that fly off of them.
yeah, 100%. Um, 2008 is one of my genie years where it's like I've rubbed the genie lamp and I'm stamping my foot down and getting 2 games because that's my wish. Um, this is what happens when Cal's not here, is I just break the rules. If you're not keeping track, one of those years was 2005. Sorry, 2004, with Sly 2 and Rollercoaster Tycoon 3. The second one is 2008. Considering how many years we have left, you can guess what the third one is probably by this point. But the reason is like, look at, like, if I just read some of the games that it isn't, GTA 4, Fallout 3, Metal Gear Solid 4, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, fucking Call of Duty World at War, one of the good Call of Duties, my god. Um, Little Big Planet? Little Big Planet. What a game.
For some reason I was thinking that was '07.
No, it was 08.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, what a fucking year, dude. Like, genuinely. What Left for Dead? What a year.
Oh, yeah, Left 4 Dead.
What a year. Spore? Like, genuinely, like, so many games. Like, genuinely, so many games. What a year. My two that I'm going to go for are, because I'm a selfish bastard. The main reason is because I always, whenever Mirror's Edge comes up, I've got to give Mirror's Edge a bit of love, you know, because it's like,
Yeah.
still to this day, the best first-person platforming game of all time. Will never be beaten. What a game. Like, genuinely fantastic. Genuinely, I still think that game looks brand new. Every single time I see it. It's got a timeless visual style where it just, you know, the people are a bit goofy, but literally everything else, like the buildings and everything, whenever you just boot up Mirror's Edge and you're looking at like modern day gameplay of it, it still looks like it could have come out last week. It's phenomenal. Like, from a visual art style, unmatched. And just the gameplay is so damn good. The soundtrack, one of the soundtracks of video games. I adore it. I think it's brilliant. The only reason that it would not be my 100% top pick is just because that story's a little bit lacking. There's not really any meat to that bone. But otherwise, from a gameplay perspective, flawless. The other, it's almost a series that I have to mention here. But I guess from a game perspective, Persona 4. But also FES came out the exact same year. Did you know that, Hunter? That FES and Persona 4 came out the exact same year?
I figured that out when I was looking through it because I couldn't remember. I was like, base Persona 3 came out in 2000. Was it 06 or 07?
06.
Was the gap?
It was
Okay.
06. The gap was 2 years.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Either way, insane that they came out so close together.
The fact that they made another 60 to 80 hour RPG in the span of 2 years, mind blowing. Don't know how they did it. Fair play to them. But yeah, I mean, both Persona 3 and 4, iconic RPGs, really. I think they're both fantastic. I don't know. The closer we get to, I don't know if this is the hype, Hunter, but the closer we get to Persona 4 Revival, the more I'm revising in my head, hey, maybe Persona 4 is a good, like, maybe I love Persona 4. Maybe I treated you too poorly. But there's something, especially, obviously I played Golden, but going back and watching people play Persona, there's a vibe to it on the PS2 in 2008. There's a vibe to Persona 4, which is kind of lost in Golden with the fog and the dreariness of it. And I just sit there and I'm like, man, if I'd played any of these games when I was growing up, like, I would have probably been a massive nerd when it comes to like anime and JRPGs, because my god, like, genuinely, what a vibe Persona is and still is.
Still is. They have yet to lose that.
I can't wait for Revival. But yeah, it's just fantastic. If you haven't played Persona, go and play any of them. But, you know, Revival will probably be next year or the year after. So check it out, because there's something special about Persona. Each Persona game's special, but the thing that I love about Persona 4 is how small scale it is. You know, the other two kind of, by the end of it, become kind of big deals in the terms of saving the world. And Persona 4, at the heart of it, is just living in a rural town in Japan and making friends and figuring out what the meaning of, you know, your life is. And I'm like, that's great. I love it. I think that it stands out in that regard, that it is so small in its scope, and I think it's fantastic. And again, it speaks to why the 2000s were great, where you can make a 60-hour RPG in 2 years and it still be an incredible experience. I wish we could still live in that world, but alas, we don't.
Oh god, what a world it would be.
It's going to take them over 2 years to make a remake of it, never mind a brand new
kidding.
one. But 2008, brilliant year for games. Like, actually brilliant year for games. Like, legitimately. It's up there. To be honest, 2009 is also up there as well.
2009 is also really good. Let me tell you.
Back to back. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our final year. It is 2009. And like I say, I think 2008 and 2009 might be the strongest years of the decade. They might be. I think the decade went out with a bang, Hunter. It went out with a bang.
Sure did.
What is your
Uh,
pick for 2009, Hunter? The penultimate pick.
Yeah, surprise to no one again if you've seen the show before, but Dragon Age Origins is my pick for this one.
I
Oh
already
man.
started filling it in before you had even said it.
Yeah. Yeah. It could what a game this is. What a series this is. I've really, for all of the flaws that all of Dragon Age might encompass, I love these games. Origins still stands at the top of it for a number of reasons. I think that it still had the most interesting cast as far as the personal journeys they all go on. I think that it does a good job at balancing the overarching story with giving you something to do in the meanwhile, as far as there's the big blighted monsters coming to destroy civilization as we know it. So you got to go to the dwarves and the elves and so on to recruit them to your army. So you're going to that experiencing basically like an arc for each area, all for still the purpose of the bigger thing. It's
Yeah.
not like the Darkspawn just take a vacation in between all of that, which is something that I feel like a lot of RPGs forget to do.
Yeah.
Where it'll be like big thing that you fight at the end. You're not going to hear a peep about it after you're introduced to it, though.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. Whereas I feel like they did a good job at making not only that, but they did a good job at making these arcs not feel like filler. They all felt pretty substantial as far as what you were doing and why you were there. So a lot of fun to experience that way. And peppering in like talking to people at camp and experiencing their, personal companion arcs in between. I feel like it all snaps together at a really good pace when you play it.
Yeah. I know this game means a lot to you. I know you like this game a lot.
Sure do.
So, yeah. I can't complain with your pick, especially because my pick is also extremely obvious and very... Well, there's two. And there's one that I want to give a shout out to, and then there's my actual pick, right? So the one that I want to give a shout out to is Batman Arkham Asylum, because
Yeah, there it is.
that's the one. Because what a game! Like genuinely, licensed games, especially superhero games, other than Spider-Man 2, were considered a joke for the most part. No one ever treated these games properly. They were very much cash grabs, and no one ever expected anything from them. And I think Arkham Asylum was the first one where it actually just went, what if we make a fantastic game with some really interesting source material? And they just create one of the best licensed games ever made, if not the best
It was
licensed game
so
ever
good
made.
that no one who like if you listen to anyone in the games media at the time recount reviewing it, they were all apparently stunned. Like they didn't know what to feel because they weren't expecting it to be good.
Wasn't there something like Greg Miller was like, he was told that someone went to a preview and was like, yeah, that Arkham game sounds pretty good. And he's like, yeah, right. It's going to be awful. And then he was on the review for it and he was like actually blown away that it was like actually as good as it was.
Yeah,
Because it was an
something to that
August release,
effect.
and back in those days, August releases were kind of just graveyard games where you just sent them out to die because it was not close enough to holiday season where people would be picking it up for Christmas, and not early enough in the year where it'd be heavily discounted, so you pick it up for Black Friday. So it was like kind of like a
Yeah,
graveyard shift. Whereas now, August games have plenty of time to be discounted for Black Friday, ladies and gentlemen, because
that's true.
most of them, yeah, it's mainly if it's good or not. But yeah, so just making a game like that, and you could just tell that Sefton Hill and the rest of the team would just really cared about Batman, especially the animated series, and bringing Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill and the rest of the cast from the animated series in to do this, and to just make a darker tone of like the fact. It's crazy to think about it now because you kind of wouldn't think about it, but the fact that they made a Batman game, which was, I don't know what the rating was in the US, but it was a 16 here in the UK. So the fact that they
I think it
made,
might have been a T here. Yeah,
so the fact that they made a, more adult oriented Batman game in 2009 is kind of crazy when you think about it, because you're like, oh, yeah, you wouldn't really like. It gave a lot, like, I don't think, if it wasn't for Batman Arkham, I don't think Spider-Man would have been the same rating. I think they would have gone much more safe with like the Insomniac Spider-Man games. I don't think they would have gone as
Oh yeah.
aggressive
If
with
it
them.
wasn't for Batman Arkham, we wouldn't have
Well, we wouldn't
the
have them. Period.
Spider-Man
We
that we
wouldn't have
do.
them.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah. Um, especially tone in hand. But yeah, I think it's a fantastic game. My actual pick, and is also very obvious. Assassin's Creed 2. Like, my god,
Yep.
dude, my god. I it might be one of my the more I think about Assassin's Creed 2, the more I think I'm like it probably is a top 5 game of all time. I always go, isn't that? It's like top 10. I'm like, no, it's probably top 5, isn't it? It's just it did something to my brain. Like, it activated neurons in my brain. What you have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, is it's like when Assassin's Creed 1 came out, I was 9 years old. Didn't play Assassin's Creed 1. I had a friend whose parents did not care about what games that he played, so he had played Assassin's Creed and he was like, I'm playing this Assassin's Creed game's pretty cool. I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then in late 2008, my dad bought Assassin's Creed 1, like pre-owned, whatever, for like £10. I was watching my dad play it a lot. And I was just very fascinated by it because my dad's a big history guy. He loves historical things in general, so he bought it for that. And he was like, yeah, this is pretty interesting. And my dad saw that there was like a toggle in the menu where you could turn the blood off, and he was like, hey, if you turn the blood off, I'll let you play it, just don't tell mum that it's a 15. I'm like, got you. And so I did. I played it in like late 2008, early 2009, and I loved it. It was basic, of course it is in retrospect. Needs a lot
Dude,
of
there was
work.
something about it that still compelled me when I was younger for
Yeah.
how rudimentary it was too. Like, I couldn't fathom doing the physical run from home base to area with the roads full of nothing
Yeah.
anymore. But I did when I was a kid, and I'm like, yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm. So the reason I'm trying to say it is when I finished it, and you get that really creepy ending with the blood-stained writing all over the wall, and it ends there, and I'm like, oh, I need a sequel. So as soon as they started teasing it and the Ezio stuff, I was all over it. This is like the first game where I was following it on the internet. Like, I'm 11 years old. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, I can't wait for this game. And it came out, and my dad, bought it again, had to turn the blood off so I could play it. But other than that, go ahead, because that toggle was still there. And I just fell in love with it. I think I've replayed Assassin's Creed 2 11 times in my life, probably, give or take. And it's like comfort food. I think it's, and I don't think it's just because I played it as a kid. I genuinely still think to this day Assassin's Creed 2 is one of the best stories in video games. I think Ezio is one of the best protagonists in video games.
He's up there, yeah.
It's really not hyperbole. He just is like fantastic. It's kind of what I miss about Assassin's Creed is it respected your time and it respected your intelligence. It didn't spoon feed anything, It's just like in the first couple of hours, you're playing as a teenager who has to watch his dad and two brothers get assassinated and then figure out how to live his life. And it's like it goes through the entire decade. It's like it's a full-on narrative, and I just sit there and I go, why? Where have we gone? Where have we gone?
What are we doing?
Genuinely, it's like there's so much to Assassin's Creed 2, and I think it's just an absolutely brilliant video game, and it manages to blend its modern day and it's the most interesting and compelling the modern day to historic setting had been, with the Subject 16 shit and the whole kind of conspiracy theory angle, and what's true of history and what isn't, and just all that stuff. I just sit there and I just marvel at it, and I just go, man, that is the definitive sequel to a video game. That is how you make a sequel to a concept. That's how you nail it the second time round.
Yeah, this is one of the most quintessential examples of first game being like proof of concept, second game being the one, because they really didn't make one as good as it after that.
No, I mean, I think it gets close. I think Black Flag is fantastic as well.
Yeah, it does come close.
Yeah, now you're just like, oh yeah, they're just riding their coattails on a name that has prestige because of what it did almost a decade and a half ago, and now it's nothing like itself anymore. But yeah, Assassin's Creed 2 will forever be one of my favorite games of all time. I think it's fantastic. I absolutely adore it. I think the characters are fantastic. Yeah, Roger Craig in that game. What a fucking performance. Like, genuinely, I love Roger Craig Smith. He's fantastic in everything that he does, really. But as Ezio, especially, my God, like, genuinely, what a performance. Also, Nolan North. I love Nolan North. Nolan North's great. They should give him more games,
good.
especially in 2009. You know, he needed more games in 2009. He didn't get one. That's a shame, isn't it?
You should have got more stuff. Give the guy a chance.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. Crazy how he didn't get another game in 2009 that was also a Game of the Year contender. But them's the breaks, you know. That's a shame. And hey, with that, there you go. Those are our favorite games of the decade. What did we miss? I feel like there's plenty to choose from. Like I say, I'm sure GTA fans will be screaming. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm as a Little Big Planet fan, I'm also screaming that I'm like, oh man, I had to. You know, Persona and Mirror's Edge also came out that year. That's crazy because my God, Little Big Planet, what a game! What a game! But alas,
yeah,
dude, this is where I get my my boomer take out here, where I'm like, they don't make them like they used to, mate. They don't make them like they used to.
I think doing this has given me an idea for another thing in the future, aside from just doing the following decade, like the video I took this topic from anyway.
Hey, if you want to see it, listen.
Yeah, but I think one that would be interesting would be trying to pinpoint where like
where gaming fell off. Yeah.
Yeah, where like specifically like mainstream gaming, I guess, figuring out like tracing the kind of
the trajectory
dipping point. Yeah, that could be a good one.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because I feel like I say, I feel like there was a tipping point where it's like, I feel like the year 2000 is like is the separating point between like arcade retro and like modern retro, I guess, of like, you know, games that still are very much like video games that are today. But I do think there's another split between 2000 and where we are now, where we're in a completely different era of fucking mediocrity a lot of the time, you know, like still fantastic games coming out, but a lot of same old. And I think there is a gap somewhere that is probably in the 20 teens somewhere that we'll have to.
I would say it is probably there.
But where is it? Who knows? Maybe that is something for us to discuss at some point. But hey, like I say, let us know what your favorite games are from the decade. What a decade, though. What a decade.
What a decade.
I think what's interesting is I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, we've had a great decade. Like, you know, so far I'm like, okay, there's been a couple of years already where I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, bro, there's some of these that are already like 2004s or whatever, you know, where it was like we're sitting here scraping the barrel. I'm like, my God, we'll see. We'll see. This year's a pretty good one, though. And hey, if you want to keep up to date with the rest of the year, hit that subscribe button. Why not? It's free. It's fine. You'll live. It's all good. Next week, I don't know. We'll be back anyway, regardless.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We've still got a couple of weeks left until we've got some more games coming out. Remember, later on in the month, we have Metal Gear Solid Delta. We have Lost Soul aside, and then as we get into September, we've got some other games coming out too. So hey, if any of them float your boat, subscribe, like the video, follow us on your favorite podcast service. You do whatever you like. But hey, we'll leave it there, I guess. Thank you ever so much for hanging out with us this week. It's been fun. We'll be back same time, same place next week for more. But until then, have an awesome rest of your week. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Toodaloo.